You are listening to the World Cup preview on the Commentary Hub.
Welcome to the World Cup preview show here on the Commentary Hub. A big thank you to everyone for tuning in. I just want to say the people that we've got coming up is Luke Turton, Sam Wright, JB, Mike Ornament, Nicholas Jones, Paul James, Luke from the Ought to Know Better podcast, the New York Total United podcast, Matt and Danny from there, John Kane, Martin Yath and Jack Essendon from Football Live, Chris from Leicester Till I Die TV, Chris Coughlin and Josh Luke, two more members of the Commentary Hub, joining me for the preview show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the preview show for the World Cup, which starts tomorrow in Qatar.
You are listening to the World Cup preview on the Commentary Hub.
People from the New York Talk podcast, the Rotherham United podcast, is us, Matt Lax and Danny Ogden Glaves with us today. How you doing, Matt? You okay?
I'm very good, mate. How are you?
All good, mate. Thank you. You well, Danny?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Thank you. How are yourself?
All good, mate. Thank you. So first of all, we're going to be discussing the England chances in the tournament. And Danny, I'll come to you first. What do you reckon to England's chances in the tournament, mate?
Oh, excellent question. I mean, we're going into this World Cup out of form, but you sort of have to count the out of form as being the Nations League. So were we ever in form with the Nations League? Because it's effectively pre-season training, the Nations League, but for international teams. If you look at our tournament record, a semi-final in the last World Cup and then the final in the Euros, which I'm still a little bit annoyed at, to be honest. It's going to be an hard work. I think we'll get out of the group for sure, possibly as group winners if we turn up. But then it's down to who wins the opposing group for us in the quarterfinals. And I think if the Netherlands win that group, I think we're a little bit in deep water with that one. So I'm going to say quarterfinals for England. But if the Netherlands don't win the group, I reckon we could get to the semi-finals.
Interesting. What about you, Matt? What do you make to England's chances under Gareth Southgate in this Winter World Cup?
As good a chance as anybody. I think on paper, we'll talk about other teams in a minute, but on paper, there's a couple of other squads that are probably better. But you've got the Southgate factor, which is important. I think the way he's built up himself within the team over the last two tournaments has been exceptional. The semi-final and final speaks for itself. I think the group we've been given a kind group draw. I think as long as we win our group and Group A goes as expected, we'll be fine in the last 16. But then, in theory, we should be meeting France in the quarterfinals, and that's the key. That's the massive. That's the one. I can't see us getting past France if they're. I know they've got injury problems. I know they've got quite a lot of injury problems as well. So if they are, anywhere near being a fully fit French team, then the journey ends at the quarterfinals. And you have to assume because it's a World Cup that everybody's going on the A game. So if you beat France, I think the door's open. But I think quarterfinal loss to France is probably where the journey ends.
Interesting stuff from both Danny and Matt. They're both saying for the quarterfinals for England. Now, Matt, I'll come to you first on this one. Wales, Rob Page's Wales, Gareth Baleton, major tournament, probably one of his last major tournaments for his country. How do you think Wales will go on in the World Cup?
They'll be very, very lucky if they get out of the group. Obviously, England are the best team in that group comfortably. I like America. I think they've got some really, really good players. They've got some players at Leeds that I think have shone this season, which obviously, as Premier League viewers, we all expect them to do a little better. Iran's a bit of a wild card. I think their ranking's quite good, but they're in the Asian Confederation, which isn't as strong. So you probably fancy them to beat Iran, and then they won't beat America. And if England need to play for something last game, they'll not beat England. So I think they'll probably finish third in that group.
Danny, what about you for Wales and Rob Page? Do you reckon they could get out of the group, or do you think, like Matt, it'll be a 2-3 race for them to get out of the group?
I don't want to sound too harsh on the Welsh here, because I know someone who is Welsh. Wales is a difficult one because I believe this is their first World Cup since '58.
Mm.
I think it is. So I think bottom line with Wales, they are just happy to be here. They're just happy to have qualified again. Whether or not that transpires in the group and they actually turn up in the group is something we're going to have to wait and see. But in all honesty, I think Wales are going to turn up. I think they could finish second in this group if they turn up like England do. So I reckon it could be a 1-2 with England and Wales potentially. My prediction is that Wales will probably beat Iran 1-0. Probably the same with the US or they might even batter the US. We have to wait and see. And then probably draw with England. I think England and Wales will be going into the game looking at it, going, you know what, we've both more or less qualified, and it'll just be a 1-1 draw. So yeah, I reckon Wales get out of the group, but if they do, I think they won't go any further than the quarterfinals. If I'm being honest.
Interesting stuff there. So now we're going to have a look at the dark horse of some of the nations where you may not think, some people may not think they'll do very well in the tournament. And Matt, who would you say one of your dark horses or one or two dark horses for you?
I'm thinking South Korea. I think they've got a decent enough group. I'd written it down. It's got their groups: Ghana, Portugal, and Uruguay. Portugal have got their own infighting problems, as we all know at the minute. So that's going to be an issue with that. I don't particularly fancy Uruguay. I know they've got a couple of players. They'll probably still go through, probably top the group. But I like South Korea. They're typical, aren't they? They have worked hard. They've got some great players. Son should be fit for them, which is obviously massive. They probably will play Brazil in the last 16 if they make it through. But Brazil are known for giving away stupid results, so it wouldn't surprise me to see South Korea pull one off on them and then make it through. And I'll go for South Korea on this one.
Yes, interesting choice there. What about you, Daniel? Have you got for your dark horse in the competition or dark horses if you've got more than one?
I agree with Matt on the South Korea one for sure. But my dark horse is going to be Qatar. I think they'll catch a few people out. I don't think they'll have another case of South Africa not getting out the group stage, because I think that's the only time that's happened. I believe Qatar won the Asia Cup the last time out as well. So yeah, I'm going to say Qatar. I reckon people underestimate them, as the host nation and a small footballing nation, but they turned up in the Asia Cup, and yeah, I think they'll surprise a few.
Interesting choice there from Danny, so to speak. And so, Matt, I'll come to you first on this one. The Golden Boot and winner and number of goals, do you reckon they're going to score? There's likes of Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar out there. Number of good players out there. Who do you reckon?
I'm going to go Harry Kane. I'm going to keep it simple. I think the group England have been given is a kind group, much like it was in 2018 in Russia. We played Panama and I got half his goals against them. So I think Iran suits him. America, as much as I mentioned them, I think they've got some good attacking players. To be honest with you, I don't know how defensively sound they are. I suspect not great, not massively. And if Harry Kane turns up against a team like Wales, then again he's going to have a hatful. We may not go much further than that, but he could get he could get 6 goals in the group stages. That's how that's how good he can be on his day. So I'll say Harry Kane, and I will give him 7 this time.
Interesting choice there. Danny, what about you for the Golden Boot? Who have you chosen?
I have got Kane written down as well. I think that definitely depends on how far England progress and, like you say, Matt, how they turn up against other teams. But World Cups are always a strange one, aren't they? Like, your big name players never really turn up past the group stages. Like your Lewandowski's, your Ronaldo's, and your Messi's never really turn up past the round of 16 quarter-final stage. But because this is probably going to be his last World Cup, and I still haven't got him noted down as winning it, but I reckon Messi could bag a hatful this tournament. He'll certainly have a good go at the group stages for sure. Yeah, I'm going to say Messi, and I think he's going to get 6.
Another interesting choice there. So now we're going on to the predictions for the top 4. And Danny, I'll come to you first. Who have you picked in 4th place for the World Cup?
I've gone for France.
Interesting one for France there. What about you, Matt?
For fourth, I've gone Spain. I think they'll have a good tournament, but not good enough.
What about third for you, Danny? Who have you gone in third place?
I've gone for Argentina.
Interesting one there from Danny. Who have you chosen in your third place team, Matt?
I've gone South American, but not Argentina. I've gone Brazil for third place.
I reckon me and Matt have swapsy changes with our answers here.
Might have. Brazil have got the best team on paper. I think man for man they've got the best team. But since the glory days of the 2000s, they've been big bottlers, haven't they? I can see them falling at the final hurdle. So,
Yes, sir. Danny, who have you got in second place for the World Cup?
I've got Spain.
Brilliant.
Who have you gone for second, Matt?
I've got Argentina.
Interesting choices for that one. Now it's all time for the big one. Matt, who have you gone for your winner of the World Cup?
Assuming they get past England in the quarterfinals, I think it'll be France.
Interesting. Danny, for you, who have you gone for in your winners?
I've gone for Brazil.
Interesting one.
Symmetry.
Interesting choices there. Big thank you to Matt and Danny for their contribution to the preview show. We'll be back with more previews very, very shortly. Don't go anywhere.
You are listening to the World Cup preview on the Commentary Hub.
Welcome to the next part of the World Cup preview show, and I'm delighted to be joined by Luke from the Ought to Know Better podcast. For this part, how are you doing, Luke? You okay?
Yes, mate, Russ. Thank you, mate. How's things? All right?
Yeah, all good, mate. Thank you.
Good, so good. Thanks ever so much for inviting us on.
Yeah, no problem, mate. It's a pleasure. I've been on yours, so I thought, come on, let's see if you want to come on here as well. Just to get started, England's chances then, Luke. What do you make the England's chances in the World Cup this winter?
I have to be honest, Russ, and I know when you messaged me asking me if I could do this, I have to be open and I have to be completely honest. I am the least enthused about a World Cup I have ever been since I can remember. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. There's not, it's not because I don't like football or love football anymore. It's not because I particularly don't like England. It's just the whole basis of the World Cup and what it's been built on, really. But that's a story for another podcast, I think. But in terms of England themselves, I think the squad. I think we've got a decent squad. I think we stand a decent chance. I think we've got arguably the best attacking players we've had for a number of World Cups, and providing Southgate knows and learns how to use them properly, I think we'll do all right. I think we'll make it to the quarters. I'd be shocked if we got past the quarters, and I'd be shocked if we didn't make it as far as the quarters.
Yep. So Wales, on the other hand, how do you think what Page will do with his Wales squad, and relax the Gareth Bale who's looking for this tournament?
Wales. Well, I have to be honest. Like, I wouldn't mind Wales doing all right. I just can't see them doing much. If I'm honest, I think they've got a tough group with us in it. I think we'll top the group, but I think USA will probably finish second in our group, and I think they'll go out at the group stages. And I mean, we all know what happened at the Euros with Wales, which was a bit of a Cinderella story, shall we say? And look, I hope they do come out of the group. I just think we'll be too good for that group, or should be too good for that group. And I think USA are obviously up and coming. Some great players from our team as well, Russ. That we'll be marching and shouting for. But also for Wales, there's one or two, I think, as well. So yeah, look, I hope Wales do all right. I would like Wales to finish second. I still think USA will be stronger than Wales, though.
Yes, and if you look at potential dark horses for the tournament, Luke, none of those were expected to get that far. Who do you reckon could be in that bracket for you?
I think America. I think USA. I think we I think they're underrated. I think they've got some fantastic players. I mean, we've got arguably two of the better players, and we've seen how good those players can be on their day in Aronson and Tyler Adams. So they've got I mean, you had Pulisic to that story, and one or two other exciting players. I think they've got George Weah's son or nephew playing for them as well. Is it Timothy Weah? They've got look, I watched them a couple of times when Aronson signed for us, and I stayed up watching them in a couple of friendlies, and they looked good, man. They were playing South American sides, and they look decent. They've got a lot. I think one thing they are missing is an out and out 9 USA, but I do still think that they'll push a lot of teams. I think we'll draw with them in the group stages, England, but I just think we'll beat Wales and Iran quite comfortably, which will see us top of the group.
Yes, and the Golden Boot then, Luke, is there's some big players on show. Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Mbappe, Benzema, Kane,
Yeah,
Neymar as well, Rafinha there
Yeah.
as well. Who do you reckon is going to come out on top with the Golden Boot?
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Lewandowski. I think Poland will progress out of Group C, and I think they'll trouble a couple of teams. If they do progress as runners up, I think they play France, if I remember correctly, and I think that'll be a good game. I think Poland will score a hatful in the group stages, though, playing Saudi Arabia, Mexico. Maybe not so much against Argentina, but against those two sides, and I can't see anybody else scoring for him. So yeah, I'm going to say Lewandowski if they progress out the group stages. If not, it'll be somebody like a French. I'm going to go Benzema. If Poland progress out of group stages, I'm going to say Lewandowski. If not, it'll be Benzema.
And how many goals do you reckon they're going to get, Luke, in the tournament?
What's the record? It's held by the German, and is it Muller or closer? Is it maybe who holds the record of? Is it something like 9 or 10 or something like that in a World
Something
Cup?
like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll be broken this year. I think there's a lot of weak sides in this World Cup. Weaker sides when you look back at previous World Cups and prior World Cups. There's obviously an additional round in comparison to ages and ages ago, but I'm gonna say 10 goals is going to be the Golden Boot winner.
Yes, so now we're going to look at your predictions for the top 4 then, Luke. So who do you reckon is going to finish 4th in the World Cup this winter?
So I've not looked into it, Russ, in too much detail as to who can play who. But what I will give you is my winner and finalist who I already know. So third and fourth, I think is going to be 2 European sides. I think the final is going to be two South American sides. I think the semi-finals are going to get So third and fourth playoff is going to be France and Holland. So I'm going to go Holland fourth, France third, if they can meet each other.
Okay. Who do you reckon is going to come in the second, and then who do you reckon is going to win it, Luke?
I think it's going to be an all South American final. I think it's going to be an Argentina-Brazil final, and I cannot see how anybody can beat Brazil. It's Brazil's World Cup to lose for me. I'm not sure if they can meet before the final. I'll just have a quick look. They can't. So yeah, I can see. Also, it doesn't look like Netherlands can meet France either, so my predictions might be right. So, Argentina and Brazil final, with Brazil snatching it in the final. I just think they've got far. You look at their starting lineup; it doesn't even include Rafinha. I mean, their best 11 doesn't include Rafinha, and Rafinha has been absolutely outrageous for them. So yeah, I just can't see. You look at every single position in Brazil. I mean, they've got choice of 2 goalkeepers that are absolutely world class. They've got world class backup in pretty much every position, if not starting. So yeah, Brazil's to lose. They might get beat. We saw what happened with them when they played. Was it France when they got beat 6-1 or something stupid, and they got absolutely hammered, and nobody expected it. Was it France a couple of years ago?
I'm not sure. I think it might have been Germany. I'm not 100% sure.
It was Germany. Yeah, it was Germany, and they got an absolute hiding, and nobody expected it, nobody at all. So they have got the potential to do that, but on paper, mate, I cannot actually see how Brazil get beaten this World Cup. They've just got so much flair and strength in depth as well. Casemiro, Neymar. They've got Paqueta. They've got everybody pretty much that's any good.
Yep, so just thank you very much there to Lou from Ought to Know Better Podcast for his thoughts on the preview. We'll be back with some more previews.
You are listening to the World Cup preview on the Commentary Hub.
Welcome to the next part of the World Cup preview show. And this time I'm joined by three wonderful guests and three of the people you'll hear on the channel this winter. I'm delighted to say I am joined by Nicholas Jones, Mike Ornament, and Paul James. First of all, hi Nicholas, how you doing, my friend? You okay?
Hi, Ross. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm also joined by Paul James as well. How you doing, Paul? You okay, mate?
Hi, Ross. Hi, everyone. I'm well, thank you. And just feeling a little bit under the weather this morning, but otherwise I'm fine. Oh, I guess it's afternoon where you are.
And Mike, how you doing, my friend? You okay?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it, with this World Cup? Obviously, saying there regarding the World Cup happening in winter, but yeah, all good, mate. It's going to be a real interesting tournament. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it and seeing how it all pans out. Yeah.
Indeed, my friend. Indeed, we're going to discuss I think England's chances are going to be for the World Cup, Wales as well, being the home nations, and then your dark horses and the Golden Boot winner, and then your fourth to first winner, the top four for the World Cup as well. To start off with the England chat, I'm going to come to Paul first of all in this one. And Paul, England chances in the World Cup under Gareth Southgate. What do you reckon to England's chances in this World Cup?
Well, the draw has been very kind to them, that's for sure. I do expect them to win their group. I'll be very surprised if they don't, given the teams that are in there. I think Wales might push them close. I think it'll be personally, I think that England will win the group. And then, of course, they're going to more than likely end up with Senegal or Ecuador in the next round. The trouble is they'll run into France possibly in the quarterfinals, and that's where it'll all come to an end. The only thing that will be coming home in this World Cup is the England national team, I'm afraid.
Nicholas, what about you? What do you reckon to the England chances for the World Cup this winter?
It's going to be a tough one, I'd say, and I kind of agree with what Paul mentioned just now. I'm thinking they'll probably go as far as the quarterfinals. They might achieve the semi-finals just like they did in Russia, but I don't really know. They'll top their group certainly. I think it's going to be a very close second between Wales and the United States. But we'll get to Wales in a moment.
Now we will, my friend. And Mike, England chances for you, my friend. How do you think the three lions will do under Gareth Southgate?
Yeah, I have to agree as well. When I had a look at it and kind of put my sensible hat on rather than my England hat on, I think quarterfinals is realistic. Really, obviously coming up against France. And France obviously are going to have a real load of talent in their ranks and in their squad as well, and it's going to be too difficult for England. I'd love to see England go all the way, but I don't see it happening personally.
Yes, so that's the thoughts of Paul, Nicholas, and Mike on England's chances in the World Cup. Let's go to Nicholas first on this one. And Wales, Nicholas, how do you think what pages Wales side will get on in the World Cup this winter, my friend?
To get to the World Cup after such a long time is an achievement in itself for Wales, but they'll probably. I think it's going to be a close run thing between them and the United States for second place in the group. As for how far they'll go further, I'm possibly looking at round of 16, where they'll be against a group winning. They'll be against the group winning side, I'm sure. But Wales did surprise many at Euro 2016. So I think they're going to give it. I think they're going to give it their all. Wales.
Mike, yourself for Wales, what do you reckon, my friend?
for me, it all depends on the performances of Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey and how they stand up to it. And obviously, you know, what Wales can do there. You know, they'll finish second in the group, I think, behind England, and probably just ahead of the US as well. And then the next round after that, where they're facing probably Senegal, sorry, or Ecuador, I probably see that being when they drop and when they leave the tournament. Personally, yeah.
And Paul, yourself regarding Wales, what do you reckon to Rob Page's side's chances in this winter's tournament?
Yeah, pretty much to echo what Nicholas and Mike said, it's obviously a wonderful achievement for Wales to get there. Um, I do think they'll qualify from the group in second place. The trouble is I think the Netherlands will win Group A, so of course that would mean Wales that will run into the Netherlands, and I think that's where it will end for them. But I really have to take my hat off to them. They've done just to get there is a wonderful achievement in and of itself. And well, I hope the Welsh team and the fans really enjoy themselves.
Yes, so now we're going to look at potential dark horses for the World Cup and see what Mike, Nicholas, and Paul have for their dark horses in the competition. And for the dark horses, first of all, I come to Mike on this one. Mike, who are you putting in your dark horse category for the World Cup this winter?
It's an interesting one because somebody like Uruguay, with the talent that they've got, could certainly be there or thereabouts. But then I want to be a little bit biased with some of the teams that I've got from my fantasy football. Like, I want to see Tunisia do well because obviously I've got them. I want to see them go on a little bit of a run and try and do something in the tournament and get to a decent stage. But no, I think probably Uruguay. Obviously they've got lots of talent, lots of experience, and obviously a former winner as well. Yeah.
Nicholas, yourself, my friend, how do you think who are your dark horses for the competition?
It's going to be difficult to decide who I'd say would be a dark horse. When you look at the group stages, I'd probably have to say someone like Croatia could be a surprise. After what they did after what they did back in Russia, but 4 years is a long time. If I was to pick another dark horse, I'd probably say someone like Denmark or Uruguay, which is what Mike said. But there's just so many teams out there that could spring a surprise. So we'll just have to see.
That we will, Nicholas. That we will, and Paul. Who are your dark horses in the competition?
Well, I don't know whether you call them a dark horse really, because they've got a team full of talent. But the thing is, they never seem to take it to that next level at the World Cup. I've chosen Portugal as my dark horse.
Paul, back now. We've just missed part of that. Paul, would you like to repeat what you said? But I know you
Yeah,
said
of course.
Portugal. So why do you think Portugal, mate?
Well, I think they've got a bit of motivation, especially surrounding Cristiano Ronaldo. It's probably going to be his last World Cup, and they have some good players in their side as well. I think they would be my dark horse this time round. But I'm going to stop right there because I want to kind of save where I think it's all going to end up going until you do your prediction part. So.
Yes, no problem, Paul. So now we're going to go and look at the potential Golden Boot winners for the tournament, and I'll come to Mike on this one. Mike, who have you picked in your Golden Boot category for the World Cup? Who do you reckon is going to get it? And also, Mike, how many goals do you think they're going to score as well?
I think it's tricky because obviously France have got a decent group. They've obviously got games in there that they should be winning. So Mbappe is obviously a shout for being there or thereabouts. Obviously, you'd like to think Harry Kane will get a decent amount of goals as well. Obviously, there's like Neymar as well. Guys like Messi, but no, I'm going to go with Mbappe for France. I think for this, yeah. And in terms of goals, the tricky one, probably I'll go like somewhere in the region of about sort of between 8 and 10. Yeah.
Paul, who are you picking for your Golden Boot winner, and how many goals do you reckon the player you're choosing is going to score this tournament?
Mike got him first, I'm afraid. Kylian Mbappe is a pretty safe bet in my mind. I was going to say 7 goals for Kylian Mbappe. But we've seen a lot of goals in recent World Cups, so it might be more than that. But I think Kylian Mbappe is a fairly safe bet. Obviously, there's other options out there that are probably just as good. But I thought with France's squad, when I looked at it last night, I thought Kylian Mbappe has a really, really good chance of winning the Golden Boot. I'd say 7 goals. I'll go with that.
Yes, and Nicholas, you've just heard a couple of predictions for the Golden Boots there. Would you agree with Mike and Nicholas and going with Kylian Mbappe, or would you pick someone different to be the Golden Boot winner? And how many goals do you think they're going to score as well, my friend?
I appreciate Mike and Paul's praise for Kylian Mbappe, but bear in mind that France has been injury hit, so they could struggle defensively. But in terms of who I think is going to get the Golden Boots, well, that's a difficult one to call. Obviously, got the likes of Neymar and Messi, and also not discounting the likes of Ronaldo, Kane, or whatever. And also, as Paul said, there's been a lot more goals in recent World Cups. So I'm gonna have to sit on the fence for this one.
So who are you going to pick then, Nicholas? So do you reckon he's going to be tied then, Nicholas? And which 2 players do you reckon he's going to get it then?
Very tight. I would admit. I'm going to have to say it's going to be very tight between Messi and Neymar, but I could be wrong.
How many goals do you reckon they're going to score, Nicholas?
Right. In terms of goals that they're going to score, well, Harry Kane scored 6 in the last World Cup, which was amazing in itself. So I'm probably going to have to say between 8 and 10, sort of echoing what Mike said.
Okay, so that's the thoughts of Nicholas there. Now we're going to look at the top 4 predictions for the World Cup, and I'm going to come to each one individually and get their 4th, then the 3rd, then the 2nd, and then the 1st. So we'll go to Paul first of all. And Paul, who have you chosen in 4th place for the World Cup?
Brazil.
Okay, Mike, 4th place for you, my friend.
For me, I've gone 4th place as being Belgium.
Nicholas, who do you reckon is going to finish 4th in the World Cup?
I would probably say I'd probably say either the Netherlands or maybe even Spain. Spain have assembled a strong side, so I'm feeling they could at least make the top 4.
Okay, so Spain or for Nicholas. Then he mentioned Netherlands in that bracket as well. Next up, then we'll go to Mike. And Mike, who have you chosen for 3rd place?
Right, so for 3rd place for me, I have gone with France. I think France are going to do well with, obviously with Mbappe. I think they've got enough goals in their team. You know, they might have a few issues defensively, but yeah, I'm going to go France in 3rd. I think.
Paul, who do you reckon is going to come 3rd, my friend?
France. And for the same reason Mike said, really, they've assembled a pretty decent squad. I don't think they're going to be victim of the first round hoodoo. So yeah, I've called France on that based on the World Cup prediction game I played last night.
Nicholas, who do you reckon is going to come 3rd? Obviously said either Spain or the Netherlands for 4th, and you put Spain in 4th. So would you say Netherlands in 3rd then, Nicholas, for you?
I'd say it's going to be between either the Netherlands, France, or Belgium because France are very strong up front. Belgium could be ones to look out for too, and I wouldn't put it past the Netherlands to make the semi-finals.
Okay, thank you very much there, Nicholas. So we'll go to 2nd place now, and we'll go to Nicholas first of all. And who do you reckon will come 2nd in the tournament, Nicholas?
I'm gonna go for Argentina because they've assembled a strong side together. I think they'll make the final, but they just might not get it.
Okay. Paul, 2nd for you, my friend. Do you agree with Nicholas on that one?
I chose my dark horse as Portugal. to be runners up.
Mike, would you agree with Nicholas in Argentina to come second, or would you agree with Paul and put Portugal in second? Who have you got finishing runners up in the World Cup this winter?
I don't agree with either. Actually, I've got Brazil as my runners up. They're my second place team.
Okay. So Brazil in second for Mike Ornament then. So let's see who each of them will get into their winners spot. So we'll go to Nicholas first. And question to ask you, Nicholas: do you think he's going to come home? Do you think the World Cup's coming back to England? Have you put England as your winners?
No, I haven't, because there are teams that I would say are stronger than they are. It'll be a miracle if they make the final. I should say. I don't mean to sound I don't mean to sound negative and all, but I think they're going to have a hard time getting through to the final. So, but in terms of who I want to pick as a winner for the final, it would surely have to be Brazil. And if they do win, it would be a good way for Neymar to go out. And as I mentioned with Argentina being second, the romanticist in me would like to see a Neymar Messi final. What a match that would be!
Absolutely, Nicholas. Absolutely, my friend. And we'll go to Paul next. Paul, who have you got down as your winners of the World Cup?
Well, I've got Argentina and Brazil meeting in the semi-finals, actually, Nick. And my winner of the tournament will be Argentina.
So Argentina for Paul there. And Mike, we'll finish with you for this one. Who do you reckon your winners are going to be in the World Cup this winter?
Well, I'm going to be different. I've said, obviously, fourth place being Belgium. I've got my third place as being France. My second as being Brazil. I think my winner is going to be Portugal. I just think all the hype surrounding Cristiano Ronaldo right now, he's going to really want to put on a big performance and really have an important World Cup and a big World Cup, obviously, to get his name out there, because obviously he's probably not going to be at Manchester United. They're going to probably want to sell him in January when he comes back. So it's to kind of get the suitors interested. So for me, I've actually got Argentina as being a very big underachiever. I think they probably won't even reach the last four, personally.
Very, very interesting choices there. So that's the next part of the preview show wrapped up. So that big thank you to Mike, Nicholas, and Paul for their contributions to the show. We'll be back in a few minutes to hear what more people have got to say in this World Cup preview.
You are listening to the World Cup preview on the Commentary Hub.
I'm joined on this part of the preview by three brilliant guests, I like to call them. We've got Luke Turton, Sam Wright, and JB as well. Luke, how are you doing, my friend? You okay?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Good. How are you doing, Sam?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Nice to see you all.
And how are you doing, JB?
I'm okay. I'm all right. Yeah.
Good. So we'll start off by looking at the England's chances in the tournament first of all, and I'll come first to you on this, Sam. How do you think England's going to fare in the World Cup this winter?
I'd like to be optimistic, to be honest. I think that looking at the selection, I don't think it's as bad as what people are saying. I think a lot of people are asking for James Maddison, and Madison obviously is going. I think there is some debatable decisions, but I think that largely the selection's not too bad. Obviously, we've done really well in the last couple of tournaments. However, I think the Euro is a big missed opportunity. So I was just saying about obviously the last couple of tournaments, England have done really well. But I think that the mood around the camp's been a little bit, and especially in the fan base, has been quite low in the last few months with the results and the performances. And obviously, Southgate seems to be under a lot of pressure. So if England don't do well in this tournament, particularly in the group stage where they've got a very favourable group, I do fear for Southgate. But I'm feeling quite confident. I don't think we're going to win it. I think there are teams that are stronger than England, unfortunately. But I do think England can go quite far again, hopefully. And again, I think, with the way the last couple of tournaments have been, I think expectations might be a little bit higher going into this World Cup. But let's hope England do well. But unfortunately, I don't think we'll win it.
Okay. Luke, how do you think England will go on in the tournament, mate?
Well, Sam mentioned about those questionable choices in the squad, and I look at it and I think if you're picking a player that has hardly been informed for 2 years, i.e. Maguire, and he's probably going to be in your back line because we tend to do Stones and Maguire if they're fit. I can't see us getting out the group because I just think teams will learn they can just run at that back line, and there's a mistake there. I don't know. I'm less optimistic than Sam is. Let's put it that way.
Yes, and what about you, JB? How do you think England's going to go on in the tournament under Gareth Southgate?
Well, let's get one thing first of all. The climate is going to be very different for the players when they get out there because it's going to be very warm, obviously. I think that's one thing we've overlooked on the previous two comments. Personally, I think we will get out the group. There are some questionable decisions, as Luke touched up on there. Maguire, has he played enough games? I still think Southgate's boomed a bit by not taking Ivan Toney. I think, and I think he's out. I mean, I'd have took him above Callum Wilson. I know Callum Wilson's scoring goals and stuff, but so is Toney. And I think Tony's a more natural finisher than Callum Wilson is. And that's nothing, I'm not Callum Wilson's biggest fan, as you know, but I'd have gone for a natural finisher like Ivan Toney over Callum Wilson any day. Having said that, though, it's a decent squad. I think James Maddison deserves to be there. I mean, it's a very favourable group, as other people have pointed out. But I mean, the two. Iran should be a walkover for us. I would be very, very surprised if we didn't get anything from that one. The US might be the more tougher game because the Americans are a very good side, and I've got to pick up a stat here that we've never beaten them in any competitive game. I know point back to 1950 and Belo Horizonte when they beat us in the World Cup then. The Welsh one, I mean, that's another hard one to call. I think if we took 7 points, I think if we took 2 wins and a draw, 7 points, that should see us through the group. But then when you get to your knockout rounds, you've got your Brazils, you've got your Argentinas, you've got your Frances, you've got your Spains, you've got all these teams that are going really, really well. Germany, you can't discount. I know they didn't get out the group last time out, but they've got a good man and going really well on Andy Flick. And we can't really ignore, from an England point of view, we can't ignore what happened in the Nations League. I mean, it just wasn't good enough over 6 games. Did we win 1 out of 6? It just isn't good enough. So Southgate has got a lot to prove if he's really going to be the real deal in this World Cup. But as regards, if we get to a semi-final, then I'll take it. But as far as winning is concerned, forget it. Doing a good teams.
Yes, so we'll move on and discuss Wales now, and I'll come to you, Luke, on this one first of all. How do you think Wales will do in the tournament? Obviously, in the squad, they've got one of Nottingham Forest players, Brennan Johnson, in the squad. How do you think Wales will do in the tournament as a whole this winter?
Very good girl. I mean, I can see that Wales will probably get to at least probably the quarters. I think they tend to do well within tournaments up until a point, and then teams tend to work them out a little bit. I mean, they've got some dangerous players in there: Johnson, Kiefer Moore, Solver Thomas from Huddersfield. but then obviously towards the back, there isn't many kind of hugely big names there. Obviously, they've also got Bale, but yeah, I think they'll get to at least the quarters.
Yes, and JB, what do you make to Wales' chances in the World Cup this summer? Well, this winter, should I say?
Well, they've got a chance, but I mean, it's going to be difficult. You've got England and America and the United States. And the United States are no slouches. As I referred to earlier, they've got a decent squad there, and they'll not be going up to make any numbers. I would expect Wales to beat Iran. I think that's a given. They could sneak in second. They could sneak in possibly second, but again, even if they don't get out the group, it's just to be there for the first time in 64 years. I think that's an achievement in itself. Forget the expectations for Wales. They've got no pressure on their shoulders. They can go out there, enjoy themselves. If they get knocked out in the first round, right, it doesn't really matter. They've not been there for 60 odd years. They're going to enjoy it, even if it just lasts the 3 matches. But if they get further than the group round, then all power to them. There's a few. I mean, some of the key players are a lot older now. Bale's older, Ramsey's older. What will that have on the squad? They've got a decent little squad. Connor Roberts of Burnley's in it, and I'm pleased that a Burnley player's being represented in some way. But I just can't see Wales. I mean, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I can't see Wales getting out the group if England and the US get on their A game. But I mean, I think if you're Welsh, I think you're from Wales. I mean, I think you're just happy just to be there, even if it just lasts the 3 games in the group. But if they can go further than that, all fair play to them. But I just can't see them getting out of the group. I think it's too tough a group for them. But but knowing Robert Page's side, they will always give it their best shot, regardless whether they win, lose, or draw. But I don't think they'll get out of the group, but they'll have a good try at trying.
Yes, I agree with that, JB. What do you make to Wales' chances, Sam? Do you agree with what Lucas said, or do you agree with what JB said about Wales' chances, or have you got a different opinion to both of those two?
Yeah, I see both points, to be honest. I think Luke rightly points out Wales in tournaments do tend on doing quite well. I mean, obviously, the Euro 2016 getting to the semi-finals, and then obviously the Euro's just gone. I mean, yes, they got hammered by Denmark in the last 16, but they still did well to get out of the group. So Wales, I think, as long as they've got Bale, because Bale always seems to turn up for Wales, regardless of how he's playing for his club, Bale will always turn up for Wales usually. So in this tournament, if Bale and Ramsey perform like they have done in previous tournaments, I think Wales have actually got quite a good chance, really, of getting out of the group. I think the big game's going to be the first one for Wales against USA. If they can beat USA, I think they've got a really good chance of getting out of the group because, I mean, if England takes 6 points in their opening 2 games, then obviously Wales have to beat England. I think that might even be beneficial for Wales as well because obviously they need no motivation to go up against England and they'll want to beat us regardless of whether they can go through or not. But I think that for Wales, that's the biggest game is going to be the first one. So they can beat USA and Iran. Obviously, that will put them on 6 points. And assuming USA then lose to England and England beat Iran, that will mean England and Wales are already through. So I think that's going to be the big one for Wales, the first game. But I think they've got a chance. I mean, they've always had a very mixed squad in terms of talent, Wales, haven't they? I mean, obviously Bale's always been their standout player. Ramsey as well has usually, but Ramsey at club level has been poor for a few years now. So the quality is not as good as what it was, especially in 2016. But I still think that as JB pointed out, as in Robert Page's side, they always give 100%. And the big game is going to be that USA one, in my opinion. If they win that, then they've got a very good chance of going through. Even if they get out the group, I don't see them going overly far in the tournament. I think if they got the quarterfinals, it'd be a great achievement. But yeah, obviously Wales' first time in 64 years, I think it is in the World Cup. So the fans will make the absolute most of it, and obviously if they can get a good run in it, then that'll be a huge bonus.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Now we're going to look at some of who you think are the dark horses in the tournament. And Luke, who would you say a couple of, say, 2 dark horses, in your opinion, for the World Cup this winter?
I mean, I've always got to look at Mexico. Mexico are usually quite an okay team. I mean, again, Costa Rica, you don't know what you're going to get from Costa Rica. I mean, they've not got a great squad, but they could surprise people. Japan, they're always a big surprise. I'm going to try not to name everybody, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yes, and JB, if I were to ask you for 2, maybe 3, like Lucas giving me, dark horses for the tournament, where who would you put in that bracket for you, JB?
I mean, I'd like to see. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some minnows as well. Canada there for the first time, and you'd like to see them do well, but it's going to be equally difficult. I think Germany. I know Germany I would have as a dark horse because of what happened last time, but they're doing okay under Hansi Flick. We know how good a manager he really can be, as we've seen for many years at Bayern Munich. I think Germany could be my dark horse because they are a very good side. They're still a very efficient side. Whether they'll win the thing is a debate. I would have. I mean, until tonight, I would have had Portugal down as a potential dark horse, but with the thing with Ronaldo blowing up right prior to that, that might cause disruption in the camp. But there's anybody could. I mean, the problem with the thing with the World Cup, it's very hard to predict who's going to be the dark horses and who's going to surprise people. I mean, South Korea, of course, they've got Sun Yeon-min. I mean, they've got a decent chance, but you can't tell. I mean, it's a World Cup. Anything can happen. Decisions can go for you. It can go against you. Certain things can go against, and it's a lottery, really. The World Cup. It's not the FA Cup in a way. It's the international equivalent of the FA Cup. It's a lottery. You don't know what's going to happen, but you would expect. I mean, I would expect teams like I would like to see a couple of the African teams do well as well. That's always good. So you like to see teams from other continents do really, really well. But of course, you're going to see your Brazils and Argentinas and people like that up there challenging.
Yes, absolutely, JB. And for you, Sam, who have you put out? Who would you have in the bracket of dark horses for the World Cup?
I think there's a few teams that people are writing off, to be honest. I think Canada are the team that I've actually looked at and think they have a better team than people give them credit for. I don't think Canada will go overly far in the tournament, but I think that if they got to the quarterfinal, maybe there's usually one team who does spring a surprise. And I think for Canada, they've obviously got quite a difficult group as well. From what I think they're in the same group as Belgium and Croatia. So that obviously won't be easy, but I think that they've got a good chance, though, of doing well. I think Serbia are a team who a lot of people have underestimated. I mean, with Mitrovic having form in the Premier League as well, and also Vlahovic up top, and those two, when they play for Serbia, seem to work really well together. And of course, let's not forget Serbia got to the World Cup by beating Portugal. So, I think they could be a bit of a surprise team. And also in the same group as Serbia, there's Switzerland. And Switzerland always seem to get to the knockouts, but never really go any further. But I think this Switzerland team could do quite well this year. I think obviously they're in Brazil's group, so I think one of them will go out, but whichever one goes through in presumably second could do really well in the tournament as a whole. I think there's a few teams that, as I mentioned to you, that really could spring a surprise. There's always one team who goes further than what people expect, and but if I'm picking one dark horse, I'm going to go for Canada. I think they'll surprise a few people.
Yes, 3 different people have given their opinions. There's no way you think for your dark horses as well. There'll be some more people coming on the podcast and the preview show later in this show. So next, guys, we're going to look at who you think is going to win the Golden Boot and how many goals you think they're going to get in the tournament overall. And I'll go to JB on this one first. JB, Golden Boot winner for you, and how many goals do you reckon the player is going to score?
Well, I don't know. I mean, again, it's a lottery this World Cup, Mark, isn't it? Again, it all depends on who rises to the surface. I mean, you're going to look. I mean, obviously, our bolts will be on Harry Kane. You look at Argentina, you look at Messi, Ronaldo, obviously for Portugal. But my pick would be one of the. I mean, I'd like to see possibly. I mean, I'm tipping Brazil anyway, but I think Vinicius Junior could actually set the world alight this year in this tournament. I've got a funny feeling that it will be his tournament, Vinicius Junior. He's come on leaps and bounds at Real Madrid, scored the winner against Liverpool, and again, I covered for the Hub back in May. So I would say I'm going to put my head on the block and I'm going to just say Vinicius Junior. I think he'll score 6, maybe 7 goals in the tournament. I think he'll be the man that'll come of age like Mbappe 4 years ago. But you're going to get people, but there's going to be challenges. Harry Kane's going to be up there. Kylian Mbappe is going to be up there. Messi, Ronaldo, all these usual suspects. They're all going to be there. But I think Vinicius Junior will stand out, the top scorer, I think, in the tournament. I think he'll get 6 or 7 goals because I think he reminds me a bit of Ronaldo in 1998 to 2002, fearless and not afraid to take on any opposition and score. And I think that there's an element there, and I think he'll be the man to beat. I think Vinicius Junior will be top scorer with 6 or 7 goals, but he'll have stiff competition to get that boot.
Yes, and Sam, what about you, my friend? Who do you think is going to get the golden boot, and how many goals are they going to score?
I mean, there's a lot of options, of course, in this tournament. Obviously, you got to assume the person who wins it's going to go far in the tournament. I actually agree with what Jamie just said about Vinicius Junior. Obviously, we've lived in Madrid this year. I've had the pleasure of watching Real Madrid live a fair few times. And Vinicius Junior, when you watch him live, you really notice how good a player he really is, to be honest. And obviously, he really has come on the last couple of seasons and he really has turned into a top player. I kind of agree with Jamie's comparison with Mbappe from 4 years ago as well. I think that he's got that sort of feel about him, Vinicius, where he's really hungry. I think he's going to go into this tournament and they've got a group where Brazil are probably expected to win every game. However, I'm actually, for my golden boot winner, I'm actually going to go with Lionel Messi because I think with the tournament being probably, well, definitely his last World Cup, I think Messi's going to be so motivated and hungry to get that golden boot. And I think even if Argentina don't win it, I think they're going to go really far. And I just can see Messi having a tournament where he just absolutely explodes. And I think he'll end on 8 goals. I know he's maybe not as good as he once was, Messi, but I still think that this tournament is going to play it with all his heart. And obviously, the Argentina team's going to revolve around him. And I just think Messi's going to have a fantastic tournament. So I'm going to go with Messi with 8 goals.
What about you, Luke? Golden boot winner for you, and how many goals?
Gabriel Jesus, 8 goals.
So that's the predicted golden boot winners. And now I'm going to go around you all individually now and ask you for your 4th to 1st prediction in the World Cup this year. So, Luke, who do you reckon is going to come 4th?
Brazil.
JB, 4th place for you.
I'm going to go. I'm going to actually go for England if the draw is right and they get to the semis. I'm going to go England, I think.
And Sam, 4th place for you, my friend.
It's a difficult one. I'm going to throw a surprise in there and go for Switzerland.
So, Luke, who do you reckon is going to finish 3rd and beat Brazil? Your pick for in the 3rd place playoff match?
England.
What about you, JB? Who do you reckon is going to come 3rd?
I think it'll be Germany. I just think they will. I mean, I think Germany will be a lot better than what they were 4 years ago. So I'm going to say Germany, I think.
Sam, what about you?
I'm going to go 3rd. I'm going to go for Brazil.
Now let's see who you've got in 2nd place, Luke Turton.
France.
John Stuttard.
I'm going to agree with Luke on this one. I think France as well. They're the holders. They're there to be shot at. I think they'll be there or thereabouts. So I think, France for me.
Sam Wright. Who do you reckon is going to come 2nd, my friend?
Sorry, the connection went then. 2nd, I'm going to go for France. Sorry, France.
Okay. No problem. Luke, who do you reckon is going to win the tournament?
Belgium.
JB.
I'm going for Brazil, and the reason I'm going for Brazil is I think you look at their squad. You've got two world-class goalkeepers fighting out for the one spot. They've got a better defense than previous World Cup squads. The field looks good, and then you've got Neymar, Vinicius Junior, and people like that up front. I think they're the team to beat. I don't think. I mean, they'll be used to the conditions as well, which is always crucial at any stage of a tournament. And Brazil normally win when it's not in a European country. So that's my reckoning. I'm going to go for Brazil. I think they're going to be the team to beat.
And what about you, Sam?
Argentina. I think that Messi will get his happy ending.
So there you go. There's the 3 people that we have just done. Big thank you to Luke, JB, and Sam for their predictions
Thank you.
for the World
Thank
Cup.
you.
We'll be having some more preview with some other guests on in a few moments. Don't go anywhere.
You are listening to the World Cup preview on the Commentary Hub.
Welcome to the next part of the World Cup preview show, and I'm delighted to welcome two brilliant guests on to this part of the preview show with me. And I'm delighted to say I've got Josh Luke and Chris Coughlin with us today for this part of the preview. And Josh, how you doing, my friend? You okay?
Well, thanks. How's it going? Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you. Thanks for being here. And Chris, how are you doing, my friend? Are you okay?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. Looking forward to the greatest show on earth returning to our screens.
Yes, should be good and should be fun packed show then. So as you both know what we've just discussed before live with this one, we've England's chances, Wales' chances, and then your dark horses, Golden Boot winner with how many goals, and then also your prediction for the top four for the World Cup as well. So we'll come to Chris first on this one. And England under Gareth Southgate, Chris it'd be an interesting watch. Will England in this World Cup this winter? How do you think England will go on under Southgate? And if they get through the groups, how far do you think they'll get?
It's a very interesting one, Russ. I think after the European Championships, I think optimism around the England national team was arguably at an all-time high, certainly for our generation. I think there was a lot of feeling about young talent coming through, which there still is, but I think there was a real excitement around the team. And unfortunately, the Nations League campaign has somewhat tempered that, especially the home game against Hungary that I don't think anybody around the world saw coming, to be honest. With all due respect to Hungary, it was a display that a lot of England fans, I think, rocked a lot of England expectations. And a bit of rebuilding work has had to be done going into this tournament, really. And I think it's very interesting where there's a few maybe little subplots thrown into it. For example, Harry Maguire, of course, is majorly trusted by Gareth Southgate, but quite frankly, he is not now a regular at Manchester United. And Gareth Southgate's gone on record in the past of saying that he chooses players based on form. Now, Harry Maguire, as we say, certainly not in form, no longer a regular at Man United. Will he find his way back into Gareth Southgate's best system because it's tried and trusted as far as Gareth Southgate's concerned? And then at the other end of the pitch, the likes of Jared Bowen, who had been in previous squads, are now nowhere to be seen. And James Maddison, who quite rightly is in the squad, has a chance potentially, if he overcomes the workload that stopped him training today, has a chance to impress majorly. So there's a bit of a blend. I think expectations have been tempered, but ultimately, if you don't go into a competition with ambition of winning it, then what's the point of being there? Really, certainly for a country like England who have the ambition of doing it. I think for a lot of football fans around the country, England winning the World Cup would be one of the highlights of their lives. I certainly expect England to get through the group. However, when you look at the rankings of the group, it's strange that it's the most bunched group, if you like, in terms of all the nations being within the top 20 or so, and no other group really has that much competition. I very much expect England to get through the group. I'm not going to go as far as to say convincing group winners, because I think all three teams will pose different things for England to overcome, but I'm very much expecting them to get through the group. I think we all do our little projected things at the start, don't we? And we say who England would face if they win the group, and they'd be the runner-up from Group B if England won if England won the group. And that in itself is rather interesting, because now a case where Sadio Mane is out for Senegal, so you might have Ecuador and Qatar fancying their chances. So I very much expect England to win the group. Based off my prediction for who they'll face in the last 16, I think they'll make the quarterfinals. And after that, I think it's anybody's guess, to be honest, for us, because there you really are getting into the top end of the tournament with a lot of quality teams.
Absolutely, Chris, absolutely. And Josh, I'll come to you next on this one, my friend. And what do you make to England's chances under Gareth Southgate in the World Cup, and how far do you reckon the Three Lions will get?
Oh, it's England, isn't it? You know, sometimes you think they'll do really well, and then they finish in the group like in 2014, and the Euros they exceeded expectations. I think they'll get to the quarters, and anything else is a plus from there. I just think Gareth Southgate's took this group as much as he can. I feel like as Chris mentioned, he's included players like Maguire, who really hasn't had any minutes really playing Europa League and Carabao Cup games, which is not really testing yourself against top opposition. And then he went and said he didn't pick Tammy Abraham because he wasn't in form. So he's obviously got his favourites, and I think he'll die on that sword with like the likes of picking Maguire still. And Jordan Pickford performs well for England, but his form for Everton, he made a mistake at the weekend. Will he change his goalkeeper? Probably not. And hand on heart, I really do think he picked James Maddison because of the outcry from the media. I think, and you can't really go into it, but the squad numbers is, I think him, Callum Wilson, I can't remember who the other one is. They're like the 23 to 26. And obviously, normally a World Cup squad's 23-man squad. So I just feel like James Maddison won't get a game, or if he does, I feel like it's going to be like Grealish was in the Euros, where he'll come on the bench, off the bench, and do something, and be crying out to start, and he won't. I just think he'll stick with this. That Raheem Sterling's another one that informed Chelsea. They perform well for England, don't get me wrong, but is it just going to get to that point where you just continue picking players just because their name and because you've worked with them before? But I think, as I mentioned, obviously Mane's out now, so when do we play? I think if it goes how people expect, it will be France in the quarters. But ultimately, as well, if France don't turn up, England could get a quite a decent run again in another tournament. So it's going to be interesting. But I definitely do feel like it will be quarterfinals for England this year, and that'll be it. And anything else will be a bonus for the players, fans, and the country.
Yes, absolutely, Josh. Absolutely, my friend. I think some good, interesting points from both yourself and Chris there regarding England under Gareth Southgate and how the Three Lions will fare in the World Cup this winter. We'll look now and turn our attentions to the other home nation side in the competition in Wales. And Laura Page has done a fantastic job since becoming Wales manager and been Wales manager for quite a bit now, and has done a fantastic job with them. Gone to the first major tournament since 1958, I believe, the last time they got to a World Cup. So, how do you think Wales will do under Rob Page, Josh?
Again, I feel like it's, for me, I'm one of the people who will probably say anything plus is a bone, if that makes sense. I think they'll just get out of the group. I think they've just got, Gareth Bale, who seems to turn up for Wales, and Aaron Ramsey, that them players who not necessarily, well, especially now Gareth Bale, but not necessarily the headliners in their league now. But when they put on that Wales shirt, they just seem to transform and become this, fantastic player and a fantastic team. I think it all just depends on the draw, really. Like, of course, the way it could look if Wales finish second, they'll play Holland, which, no, they're not as they used to be. But you'd think, again, Wales could probably cause upset. We've seen Holland they're not qualified for a World Cup since 2014. This is their first one. In the Euros, they look really strong and then suffered that exit to Czech Republic. So there is chances for Wales, but I just feel they'll just sneak out the group, in my opinion. I think they might get something against England, depending on how England do, but maybe a point or something just to take them through, and then say the last 16 for them. But I think, as you mentioned, 1958 is a long time for many Welsh people in their lifetime to watch Wales at a World Cup. So I think they'll just enjoy the ride, even if Wales got hammered 5-0 every game. I don't think they'll mind, but it'd be interesting to see how they do. But definitely, I think they'll get out of the group, but not as far as the last 16 and onwards for me.
Yep, interesting choice there from Josh for Rob Page and Wales. Interesting prediction, should I say. Now, for you, Chris, how do you see Rob Page and Wales doing in the World Cup this winter, my friend?
It's a very tough one. Very tough one. I agree with a lot of what Josh said in terms of the achievements. It's fantastic, really, when Rob Page didn't take over in easy circumstances. Didn't also himself. He didn't have the best CV, really, but he has done remarkable work there. And it's worth mentioning as well that whenever Wales, there's the success that they've had in recent times in terms of getting to European Championships, in terms of getting to this World Cup. A lot of it, you have to just give credit all the way back to the late, great Gary Speed and the work that he did for Wales. And it feels like quite an emotional time for Wales. And that obviously is their first World Cup since 1958. But it's almost like the climax, the destination of the way Gary Speed changed the fortunes of Welsh football. And well, I think they have the potential to get out of the group. But they will, I think, it could arguably ride on their very first game against the USA, to be honest. But again, as Josh said, you've got Aaron Ramsey and you've got Gareth Bale, who haven't seen an amazing amount of club football. But you put that Wales shirt on them, and they are world beaters, especially at major tournaments. We remember Euro 2016, Aaron Ramsey getting in the team of the tournament, especially. Gareth Bale was incredible in the group stage that tournament as well. It's very interesting just to see. I'm interested to see who they have in goal as well, because I know Wayne Hennessy played the game against Ukraine, but Danny Ward's form, it's been absolutely remarkable. He's gone from almost, borderline laughing stock in the Premier League at the start of the season, especially when when Leicester lost 6-2 against Tottenham, to being one of the most informed keepers in the Premier League, and you could argue one of the most informed keepers in Europe at the moment at club level. That's going to be very interesting to see who's in between the sticks for Wales. But I do think last 16 is the best they can hope for. However, it's an interesting one. I think it's either Wales or the USA that get out of the group along with England. But I think that is genuinely a case of flipping a coin and seeing who they land on. But ultimately for Wales, it's a sign that they are moving in the right direction. It's an incredible achievement to qualify for the World Cup. And you could argue it's about beyond the World Cup for Wales, as opposed to a lot of teams focusing on this World Cup. Wales perform well at this World Cup, do the best you can do, and then it's about looking forward and focusing on the continuing development in terms of not waiting another half a century or so in terms of getting to the next World Cup. So Wales, they're not here for the ride, of course. I don't like saying that. But ultimately, whatever they can achieve at this World Cup, brilliant, as long as it then creates the legacy going forward for future generations.
Yes, absolutely, Chris. Some great points made by both yourself and Josh regarding Wales there. So we'll now look at potential dark horse as someone who you think the media may overlook is to go to have a good run in the tournament and see how well you think they could potentially do. Josh, who would you put in your dark horse bracket for this one, my friend? Who would you say would be your dark horses?
I think there's two. One's going to be a very surprising one, but I'll go on to that in a second. But the one that first come to mind was probably Uruguay. I don't know if many pundits have mentioned them, but their team on paper's like really good. Like Luis Suarez, who again, big tournament player if he can turn up for them. To Edison Cavani, who you feel if they needed that goal at a certain point in the game could probably provide you with that, or a big part of obviously this World Cup, as in any tournament, will be if it goes to a penalty shootout. They've got experienced players who've been through that and can take a penalty. And also, you look at the youngsters coming through, the likes of Darwin Núñez. He looks like he's finding his feet at Liverpool, so if he can carry on that going into the World Cup. Rodrigo Bentancur, he's looked fantastic for Tottenham the last few weeks. Federico Valverde. Just that the midfield and the attackers for Uruguay look really good. I think at the back they've got a good experienced back line as well. Players who've played at major tournaments and are probably up and coming as well. But for me, depending on if all their players turn up, they could be one to watch. I won't say they're going to win the tournament, but they could get quite far and maybe overlooked. I think my second one, and people might probably be a bit surprised this, but I'm going to go for Qatar. I really feel like they're such an unknown quantity that people are going to really underestimate them. And with that news that Mane is not going to be at the World Cup now, it's going to give them a boost. You know, they're used to these conditions now. They're probably acclimatized to it. Whatever you think about the tournament, and obviously I'm not going to get into that because it's the political side of things, but the foundations they've built to try and get this like football roadshow all these years, I really do feel that they potentially could get out of the group. It's a really long shot, but just to think there's all them factors I've just mentioned, especially the climate. It's a World Cup that we've never seen before in the winter, but these players are used to this, like the temperature and humidity at this time of year. So could that potentially become a factor? And like I say, not many of the players, I can't think, myself personally, before the World Cup was coming out this year, your sticker books and on FIFA, etc. I didn't know any of the players. So are the teams going to have kind of that same mindset and think, oh, they're just here for money purposes, etc. So I think they could surprise a few. I really do.
Interesting choices there from Josh, especially his second one, which will be very interesting to hear from as well. Chris, who have you put in your dark horses category, mate? And have you got one or have you got two, like Josh mentioned? Is two? Have you got two, or have you just got the one for you, mate? Or have you even got more than the two?
I'll be honest. My very first choice was the same as Josh. Uruguay, a lot to like about them. Um, what I think for this World Cup as well, we're going to see so many swan songs at this World Cup in terms of players playing their last level international tournament. Luis Suarez and Edinson Cavani, of course, for our generation, they are two of the greatest forwards that I can recall seeing. Two of the most natural finishers as well. It's funny because I think, of course, who they choose, but it would not surprise me if it was Luis Suarez and Darwin Nunez up front. And I'm glad Josh mentioned Darwin Nunez as well, because I have seen a lot of him this season at Liverpool. And of course, it was somewhat of a frustrating start with the nature of his red card against Crystal Palace. But I tell you what, he is growing into life at Liverpool now. And a lot of what you talk about with regards to Darwin Nunez, people say the word chaos. Sure, that I'm the biggest fan of the use of it with regards to him, but look, he is such an exciting player, and he can score incredible goals. He's getting better at the close range finishing. You score his 2 goals against Southampton. Those are the kind of goals that Liverpool will want to see Darwin Nunez scoring, and it's great to see him kind of getting into that mold. But he's so good at the other stuff as well. He chases everything down. His interplay is getting so much better. His control, and I do think he could well be. I think he could be a great player for Uruguay this World Cup. I really, really do. And it's an open group. It's an open group. Portugal, of course, whether Ronaldo plays a part or not, a big part or not, we'll have to wait and see. It'd be very interesting to see how he gets on there. Ghana, South Korea, I wouldn't say I'm thinking is going to run away with this group. So there's very much a possibility that Uruguay could win it. And just to pick up on a few of Josh's points there, I was talking about this the other day about Qatar. Is there another nation in the history of the World Cup, maybe even before social media became a thing, that if you went to the average person on the street, and this is with all due respect to Qatar, if you went to the average person on the street in England and said, name a player from the Qatar squad, could they do it? Most people probably couldn't. I think the player I'm aware of the most of is Akrem Afif. He was a major player when they won the Asian Cup against Japan back in 2019, and he is seen as one of the top 2 players in the Middle East. So he is by far and away their crown jewel for Qatar. And again, a bit like Josh, you can't write off Qatar because you don't know anything about them. So they could well be quite a quantity. I'm just looking through as well. I always like to kind of back an African team, see how the African teams do. I mean, that's mainly because when Ghana didn't get through to the semi-finals in 2010, I can't blame Luis Suarez for what he did, punching the ball off the line, because we would all do the same thing. But I like to see if a team can do well. And in the absence of Mane, maybe the likes of Cameroon, who performed well the last AFCON, they could maybe do well. Ghana with Tarek Lamptey, I think he's a wonderful player. And Iñaki Williams as well. They've got a few new recruits, if you like. And yeah, I think dark horses, there's not a lot that I could actively say would go on and stand a chance of winning the tournament, but there are certainly teams that I think can cause sides a lot of problems, and they're the teams that I like the look of the most. As well, I really, really hope Alfonso Davis is fit for Canada, because I'm really glad they're there. I think they've got a really exciting young generation coming up, co-hosting in 2026 as well. So there's a few names thrown out there. But yeah, I think if I had to choose one team I'm going to class as a dark horse to cause problems, I've got to go for Uruguay.
Yes, some interesting picks there from Chris as well. And I'll just touch upon what Chris has just said there. And I'll ask you, Josh, could you, like Chris said there, if you ask anyone on the street of England, so I'll ask you this, could you name a player in the Qatar squad? We are actually searching up who's in the in the World Cup squad for him. If I just asked you right now, name one player in the Qatar squad, could you do it?
That's not even now. I mean, I've got me a trusty sticker book somewhere, and that's nowhere to be found. And I play a lot of FIFA, but no, not even like. I think I've even looked at their team before, and I still no name has stuck with me. It's no disrespect because I think it's such a rarity. Like even when South Africa hosted, you knew a few players who played in the Premier League, etc. You know, Aaron McQueen off the top of my head, Benny McCarthy. So you knew players from that country who had played, but I think there's ever been a Qatari player who's played at least a top 5 league. So yeah, no disrespect to them, but yeah, not a chance.
Interesting stuff there. So now we're gonna have a look at the Golden Boot winner for you both now, and I'll come to Chris on this one first. And Chris, I just want to ask you who you reckon is going to win the Golden Boot in the tournament, and also Chris, if you can, let us know the number of goals you reckon the player's going to score as well.
Kylian Mbappe. He was the player straight away when I looked at his group as well, because that first game against Australia at the World Cup Fantasy Football, and my captain is very much torn between Lionel Messi against Saudi Arabia and Kylian Mbappe against Australia, because I think he can feast. I really do think he can feast in this scenario. I think he is so good at all levels, and a lot of people can say, "Oh, when you're playing for PSG, you're expected to score goals." Mbappe's shown it in the Champions League that he scores against pretty much any opposition he comes up against, and he can do things on his own as well. And I think I know he is very much my favourite in terms of winning the Golden Boot. The record, another Frenchman actually, Just Fontaine back in 1958, and that was 13. A lot, really, for one World Cup. You look at Miroslav Klose holding the all-time record of 16, and I'm not quite sure that Mbappe. I think he could get. I think he could get close to double figures. I think he could easily get 6 or 7 at this World Cup. But I honestly think Mbappe run riot on his day against most opposition. So I'm going to go for Kylian Mbappe to get at least 7 goals in this tournament.
Interesting pick there, and we'll come to you now, Josh, on this one. Who would you pick as your winner for the Golden Boot? And also, how many goals do you reckon the player's going to score as well, my friend?
Well, Chris mentioned him just a second ago. He didn't know to cat out. I'm going to go for Lionel Messi. I think he's just written his, last World Cup. Well, probably will be his last World Cup. I can say he struggled last year, but his numbers wasn't up to they were used to. He set the bar so high at PSG last season, but this season he's just been on fire. Depending on which way you look at it, is he the greatest player of all time? People say yes, people say no, but if he gets that World Cup as well, that'll probably solidify that. And I think that hunger is going to drive him forward just to score as many goals as you can. I mean, I don't want to make it all about Cristiano Ronaldo as well, but when he's floundering the way he is, in the media at the minute and not getting games from Man U, like how, as it from a Messi point of view, how nice would it be just to go and win that Golden Boot? And I think Argentina will go quite far, as we'll probably mention a bit later. Favourable opposition in their first game. I just feel like he's gonna do something. I don't know exact number before you ask. I'm just gonna say I think if I said any, probably about 6 or 7. I'm just gonna say 7 for the sake of it'll be a number that not many people hit at a World Cup. People are lucky to score that over 4 or 5 tournaments. So I just think he's gonna do something that no one's expecting before. He's like his last ever World Cup, if you will. I will mention as well, I was very tempted by Karim Benzema as well. I think back in that French squad and what he did last season in the Champions League against the big teams, single-handedly won it for Real Madrid, if you will, and won the Ballon d'Or. But if I had to pick one of the two, my money would have been on. Well, it will be on Messi if I was a betting man.
Yes, interesting choice there from Josh. So we're now going to go through and ask Josh and Chris for their predictions for the top 4, and we're going to start off in 4th place So we'll go to Josh first on this one. And Josh, who do you reckon is going to come fourth and lose out in the third place playoff?
Oh, I'm trying to work out the route of it. I can't remember who's going to be in which bracket again. So just bear me. I'll have a quick browse to see who's in which group, just so I can double check. So yeah, I do think I'm going to back myself with a dark horse. I do think Uruguay could potentially get this. I'm going to go for them in fourth. I think they'll just miss out. They've just got something at the minute, and I've properly sat down and thought about it. So yeah, I'm gonna back them, and I'm gonna go fourth. I was tempted with Belgium in that as well, but I just think Belgium's golden generation has probably just gone now. So that's why I'm gonna go for Uruguay.
Yes, who have you gone for, Chris, to come fourth, my friend? Who would you pick to come fourth in the World Cup?
I'll be honest, guys. With these predictions, I'm trying to have I've got a bit of a head versus heart battle here because I have a dream final. And I'm pretty sure it's a dream final that a lot of us have in our heads as well. It's such a tough one. I mean, I'm looking at the format at the moment in terms of who the likely teams that could get to this stage are, and in my predictions are kind of as it stands at the moment. I would say that I'm probably going to go for. It is a tough one because I'm thinking along the same lines as Josh as well in terms of Uruguay potentially winning that group and then going into it. But I'm going to go. I do think Portugal could well sneak the group. I'm going to go against my heart because I want an Argentina-Portugal final, but I'm going to go for Portugal fourth.
Interesting choice there from Chris, with Portugal to come in fourth. So we'll go back to Chris now and ask him, Chris, you've just said Portugal are going to finish fourth. Who do you reckon is going to beat them in the third place playoff?
Well, if my predictions are fruition, then the other semi-final will consist of Argentina versus Brazil. And on this occasion, I am going to let my heart rule my head, and I'm going to say that it'll be Brazil that end up in the third place playoff and win it.
Interesting pick there from Chris. Josh, who do you reckon is going to come third, my friend, in the World Cup?
Oh, I'm gonna go the flip side, and I think Argentina. I just think I mentioned before, like obviously Messi wants to win it, etc. But there's just something missing in that squad. I think there always has been. Like, the attacking quality they have is second to none. I don't think they've got many standout defenders, and I think looking at the two teams that I've picked to win or play each other in the final, probably sense why I picked Argentina to finish third. So, but I think if it did come down to that and they played Uruguay, then I think Argentina just have that bit of quality, and Messi would take a third place medal if he had to pick anything at the lowest he could get. So yeah, I'm going to pick Argentina for me. If I've worked it out correctly, I hope I have.
Interesting choice there. So now we're going to have a look at who they reckon is going to come second in the World Cup. Then, and I'll come back to Josh on this one. And Josh, second for you, my friend. Who do you reckon is going to come second?
Like I say, if I've worked this correctly, I really hope I have. I think France. I think there's all that talk about the curse of if you win the World Cup, the last World Cup, you don't get out of the group, but they've surely got to book that trend. And after that disappointing Euro campaign as well, like I was good. I got them in the sweepstake last year, in the Euros, and I really thought, oh, I'll win some money here. And then they obviously went out the way they did. So, but I don't think that'll happen this year. I think, like I say, you've got a Ballon d'Or winner in Benzema, you've got Mbappe. Big plus that Varane's fit again. Obviously in time, obviously didn't play for Man U. So, and the only thing I think they're lacking, France, and it might cost them a bit, is the midfield. Obviously, no Kante, no Pogba. Maybe a bit of a makeshift midfield, if you will. There's obviously names that we'll all know, but not really names that probably be the first on Deschamps' team sheet. So then there's obviously the talk if Zidane's going to take over. That don't cloud them, but I do think they've just got that quality. You've got Mbappe, who him and Erling Haaland are going to probably be the ones who take over the baton of Ronaldo and Messi. So, and then I say Karim Benzema, who's somehow rediscovered that form, powered past his peak. So, yeah, I think they've just got enough. But I think they'll fall short.
Interesting choice there from Josh. So, Chris, who would you have to come second in your for you in the World Cup this winter? Who do you reckon is going to come runners up?
France. France. I'm the same as Josh in terms of I have them not comfortably, but I would very much predict them to get to the final via the route that I expect them to. Josh mentioned there about the world, the champions going out in the group stages. It's one of the weirdest trends I've ever seen in sport, to be honest, in terms of a champion going out at the first hurdle. It's such a strange one. I'm trying to figure out of the three as well, which was the strangest out of Italy, Spain, and Germany. But I look at France and I think similarly on the midfield, it's very young midfield, isn't it? Because you've got Chouameni, you've got Camavinga, good players. Absolutely, they're good players, but is the experience there? For example, with no Pogba, no Kante, Rabiot, he's had an improved season at Juventus, but again, I just think there's always been something lacking there with Adrian Rabiot, really. So that's where I can see them falling down, but I do very much expect them to reach the final, which plays into my Mbappe top scorer prediction as well. And I think it'll be a very exciting final, absolutely. But yeah, you already know who my winners are.
Yes, very interesting stuff there. So you've seen who they both reckon is going to come second in the World Cup. So we'll come back to Chris now and just say to Chris, for the World Cup, who do you reckon is going to win it?
I genuinely think there is a very, very good chance that Lionel Messi could have the ultimate fairy tale. I really do, because Argentina as well, long unbeaten run. That is something that has to be considered as well. They've in that run they won the Copa America, won the Finalissima, and there is a lot of quality in this Argentina squad as well. Of course, we talk about up front. You've got Messi, Lautaro Martinez, Angel Di Maria warmed up very nicely with a lovely volley the other day as well in a friendly win. And you look at this Argentina squad as a whole, even from the back to front, you've got Martinez, who's a relatively newcomer to the international game, but he has now done well. Firstly, in a brief spell, he had at Arsenal towards the end of the COVID season, then at Aston Villa, where he's only gone from strength to strength. And then Romero and Otamendi. Otamendi maybe didn't have the best of times towards the end of his Manchester City career, but he's really reinvented himself at Benfica. Romero has got a lot of plaudits at Tottenham. And then the midfield, Paredes, De Paul, McAllister, Palacios as well. It is, there's a lot of quality there. There really, really is. And even the players I'm not mentioning so far, like Julian Alvarez, he's done really well in recent weeks when he's coming from Manchester City. And we're starting to see why they invested so heavily in him from River Plate as well. And for Argentina as a whole, and sometimes you feel like the stars align for certain things. And if my maths are correct or my predictions are correct, I feel like I know who Josh is going to predict it, and I think the team that he predicts has a lot of quality throughout. And I do genuinely think the predicted semi-final is again just a toss of a coin in terms of who wins it, because there's some players that Josh is inevitably going to mention. I can't wait to watch at this World Cup, but I am going to go for Argentina, and I am going to go for Messi to get his ultimate prize.
Interesting pick there from Chris, and a fantastic choice as well. You'll have to wait and see who I pick towards the end of this preview show this evening. But let's see who Josh has picked for his winner for the World Cup. And Josh, who's your winner for the World Cup this winter?
Yeah, I think it's the only one team that we've been talking for 35 minutes that no one has mentioned at the moment, and that's Brazil. Like, they're just, it's ridiculous how much quality they have when they've picked. Like, they've got the two best keepers, arguably in the world, or even they're definitely the Premier League to pick from. Like, even if one of them got injured, you've got another world-class keeper to back up. Normally they play a 4-3-3. I don't know if that's changed under the new regime of manager, but if they still do, you've got three attackers who, well, Neymar's obviously going to play, but the other ones even if you pick two, you've still got two strong options coming off the bench. Vinicius Junior, Gabriel Jesus, Anthony, even Martinelli might have a big say this year with how great he's been for Arsenal. Even at the back, they might be probably picking Thiago Silva, who at his age you'd think, how's he playing at a World Cup? But he looks like he could play for another 10 years. How he's looked for Chelsea, he's solid, he's compact, he's got that experience. So I just don't think you could look past Brazil. Maybe the only midfield's probably the only thing, like Fred. He's not great for Man United, but I think maybe it's a sense of the Brazilian flair in them since they put that Brazil shirt on. They're going to be incredibly exciting to watch, and I think, well, what are the Brazil Argentina? The battle of the South Americans. It's the South American version of your England, Germany, England, France, etc. So whoever they come up against, but I just think Brazil. Don't get me wrong, they've got a really. I'm looking at a tough group. Serbia, another one of the dark horses I could have mentioned, because they have started to put together a golden generation, if you will. But the likes of then they've got Switzerland, who caused an upset at the Euros, again beating France, so they can beat anyone. But you just look at that squad from number 1 to 26, and 90% of that squad is absolutely world class. I don't think I'll look past Brazil. I think they'll extend that record and make it 6 World Cups.
Yes, so big thank you then to Josh and to Chris for their contribution to the World Cup preview show. We're back with more World Cup previews very, very soon here on the World Cup preview show on the Commentary Hub.
You are listening to the World Cup preview on the Commentary Hub.
Welcome to the next part of the World Cup preview show, and I'm delighted to welcome Chris from Leicester Till I Die TV with us for this part of the preview. How are you doing, Chris? You okay?
I'm very good, Russ. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, my friend. So just as I've just been speaking to you off air, telling you what we're going to be discussing. First up is England's chances in the tournament. How do you think England will do under Gareth Southgate? Do you reckon they can get through the group stage, and how far, if so, how far do you reckon England can go in the tournament?
Yeah, I have been a backer of Southgate. I think he's been one of our most successful England managers. The problem with the England manager is that you're going to upset so many people with your choices, because you can only pick so many players, and there's 40 odd teams that we can pick from. We know since he's been in charge, I think we've come third in the Nations League, fourth in the Nations League, third in the World Cup, second in the Euros. Technically, we should win this if you follow that pattern. But I just think, I don't know. I mean, when you look at our recent Nations League performances, and yes, they are glorified friendlies, but they're friendlies against decent teams. I'd sooner be playing Germany, who are sort of technically our level, rather than say, a Moldova or an Estonia. With no disrespect to them. So, but we have struggled. I think it won't be easy. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think we will just get out of the group. The problem is, if we win or obviously come second to qualify, we are going to be playing potentially Holland or Senegal. So you've got one of the powerhouses of European football, and one of the powerhouses of African football. I think we will struggle to get past the round of 16.
Interesting stuff. That's one of them who I had on one of the other previews. Didn't think we get as far as that, but we'll leave that for another.
I think if we
for
don't get
another
as far as that, then Southgate. I don't think if you don't get out of the group as an England manager, then you've got to go. I mean, even if you get a group of death, you still there should only be one other strong team. We are the strongest team in our group, so we should. But England are always slow starters, so you never know. You never know. It's football. It's why we love the game.
It is, Chris. It is indeed, my friend. The
Mhm.
next part is Wales and Robert Page. How do you think they will get on under Robert Page and potentially could be Gareth Bale's last chance on the world stage for Wales as well with his age?
It's a lot of people's last chance. I think if you look at Ronaldo, although you could argue maybe he's had his last chance, Messi, there's a lot of Lewandowski. There's a lot of players that are coming up to the end of their international careers. For me, I don't rate Wales. I mean, Wales are lucky to be there. They somehow managed to survive a Ukrainian onslaught in the playoff. Yes, they got a goal. Yes, it was a Gareth Bale free kick, but it went in off a Ukrainian defender. So it wasn't even a spectacular Bale free kick. And it all depends. I mean, no team, and we've got the captain. We've got the goalkeeper in this team from Leicester, Danny Ward. But I just honestly think if Bale doesn't perform, Wales don't perform. And you can only rely on one player for so long. I mean, we've had players like that in the past, Gaza, but there's been good players around him as well. And I just, you're relying on sort of 5 of their squad, I think it is, or 4 of their squad are from Nottingham Forest, who are sort of, the bottom 3 of the Premier League. I just think it's going to be a struggle for Wales. I think it's waited 58 years, and I think they're just going to be disappointed.
Yes, so you think we're maybe disappointed in the World Cup. Let us know what you think to that comment, guys. But next thing, Chris, is your dark horses, who have you put in that category? Probably a nation where a lot of people may not think they have a good chance of getting through there or getting as far as you think they could do with you. Or would you say that could be for you, Chris?
I think there's going to be some surprises. For me, I've got 2 dark horses, if you like. Mexico always do well. But they always seem to sort of struggle. They seem to get through to like the last 16 of the quarters and then sort of fizzle out. Belgium, this is their last chance. It's their golden generation, like when we had Beck and all of those under Sven. So I think Belgium could be the dark horse, and all this sort of thing. Well, it's going to be hot out there, and the teams it's going to favour the African or the Asian teams or the South American teams. It's supposed to be air-conditioned stadium, so it shouldn't really have that much effect. And when you come to think how many of the players from South America, from Africa, are actually playing in Europe, so they'd probably prefer it to be raining. But yeah, Belgium. I'm a little bit biased here because we've got 4 Leicester players in the Belgian squad, so I'm a little bit, or 3 is it? I'm a little bit biased, but I could see Belgium. If they don't do it this time, then I think, as they like with Sven and England, that they won't do it. But yeah, and a little outside bet on Belgium for me.
Interesting pick there for Chris, especially with some of the Leicester players onshore for Belgium in the World Cup, with Chris being a Leicester City fan, from as you could guess from the channel he was representing today. The next question then, Chris, is the Golden Boot winner, and how many goals do you think he could get? There's likes of Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar, Kane, Son onshore as well, from some of the players from world football as well, and Rafinha as well. And who do you
Some
think
big
is going to get
names
the
in
Golden
there.
Boot?
Yeah, there's some big names in there, and I'm going to struggle to say how many goals, but because I think quite a few of these games will go to penalties as well, and I think Kane for me. he's one of those players. I hate it when he plays for Spurs, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, if that's possible. But he always scores a hatful against Leicester, so I don't like him for that. But he's always a slow starter, you know. And you know, I know he got in the last World Cup, but if you look at the Euros, it was Sterling who was getting the goals in the early games. So I'm not sure about Kane. Messi, I mean, it would be lovely to see a little guy do something, wouldn't it? And if he doesn't win the actual tournament, get the golden boot. Lewandowski could be passed. I hope Ronaldo doesn't. I want Ronaldo to sink and burn, to be honest with you. The guy is an arrogant player. You know, maybe we don't see it with Messi because we don't see his interviews, but they do seem sort of poles apart. I mean, all Man United fans are getting fed up with him. It would be justice, I think, if he got injured in his opening game and was ruled out for the rest of the World Cup. For me, I have a sneaky feeling for Kylian Mbappe at France. I mean, he's on fire. He's got 20 goals in 22 games for PSG. And yeah, I know you say, well, he plays for PSG. Look at them, you know, they haven't got much competition in France. And look at the team he plays in. But then look at the French team. You know, he's probably given more freedom than a lot of, apart from Messi, probably a lot of strikers there. And I think, you know, I just got a feeling. I think France, I mean, the holders, so will they suffer with the old, you know, tag of you know, and struggle this term? But yeah, I've got a sneaky feeling for Mbappe that he could do it for me.
Yes, and so your final part of the question then, Chris, is your top four. So first of all, that's for you. Who do you reckon is going to finish fourth in this Winter World Cup for you, Chris?
The funny thing, I mean, it obviously that's a hard prediction because it depends sort of who meets who on the way. I'm gonna go for Mexico to get fourth. I have a soft spot for Mexico, and I think this could be their year when they'll just miss out because there are better teams, but I think Mexico possibly fourth.
Yes. So, and who would you pick in the third pick for your third one, Chris? Who do you reckon will come third and finish and beat Mexico in the third place playoff?
Let us. I have a sneaky feeling that Spain might do it, but I'm actually going to go for France. I think France will get to third, and they'll just fail at again at the last hurdle, if you like.
Yes. So those are your third and fourth. Then, so who do you reckon is going to come second in the World Cup final, Chris? For you, who do you reckon's going to come second?
For me, it could be depending how it pans out an Argentina-Brazil final. So it's which one of those is going to win it. Everybody's favourite is Brazil. They're the bookies' favourites, but I'm going to go for Brazil second.
Yes, sir. And who would you have as your winners then, Chris? Who do you reckon will fetch the trophy back home?
Well, funny enough, when I did my predictions, I had Brazil winning it because of the way that the games panned out. But I fancy Argentina. I think this could be their year again. I'd love it to be somebody different. You know, I'd love it to be a team that hasn't won it before. Like a Holland, they've never won it. You know, England win it for a second time. But again, they are slow starters, like the Germans. You know, I mean, the Germans are going through a bit of a rebuild at the moment, but for me, Argentina. I'm gonna put my money on Argentina.
Interesting choices there. So a big thank you then to Chris from Leicester Till I Die TV for his predictions. We're back with more previews very, very soon. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the World Cup preview here on the Commentary Hub.
You are listening to the World Cup preview on the Commentary Hub.
Welcome to this part of the World Cup preview show, and I'm delighted to have three brilliant guests from the Football Live show, radio show, which goes out in Nigeria every Saturday and Sunday during the main football season. I've got with me John Kane, who used to be on the commentary. I've got Jack Essen, who's also part of the commentary, and Martin Diaz with me as well. How you doing, John? You okay, mate?
Yes, hello, Ross, and it's great to be here. Thank you very much.
How you doing, Martin? You alright, mate?
Hi, Ross. All good with me. How are you?
All good, mate. Thank you. And how are you doing, Jack? The only Scottish representative in the World Cup by being on this show. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very good, thanks, Ross.
Good to hear. So we'll be discussing England's chances, Welsh chances, the dark horses, the Golden Boot winner, and also your top four for the World Cup as well. So we'll start off by looking at England's chances in the World Cup, and I'll come to Martin first. Martin, England under Gareth Southgate in the World Cup. What would you make to their chances in the World Cup? And how far do you reckon England could get?
I think it's going to depend a lot on the draw. I do think England should be able to progress from the group stages. They're clearly the strongest team in the group, though we have been disappointed by England in the past, especially against teams like the United States and Wales. But I think they should progress from the group. And at that point, if you get a good draw, as England did in the previous World Cup, that's very helpful in progressing to the latter stages, and you can probably exceed expectations with a bit of luck on that side. But if they play challenging teams, I don't think England are among the strongest teams in the tournament. I've never been a big fan of Gareth Southgate, in all honesty, and his ability to navigate tournaments with England. So, no, if they get a good draw, I think they'll make it to the latter stages. But if they get a big team early on, I could see England crashing out around the first knockout round. I think it's going to depend a lot on that element of luck, really.
Interesting opinion there. Jack Essen, with you being Scottish, how do you reckon England's going to get on? In, I know you said beforehand you're going to be fair, so let's hear it, my friend.
I'm going to be fair. I'm going to say England to finish bottom of the group. No, I'm kidding. I think when you look back to 2018, there wasn't as much optimism around them as there has been in previous years. Especially, you notice it kind of in the media from up here, like the optimism and the enthusiasm. And they got to the semi-final. I thought they were good to get to the semi-final. They got to the final of the Euros last year. So really, when you look at that progression, you can't see them doing anything else than be consistent again at another World Cup. What that means, though, and again, as Martin said, it's all about really your luck, about who you get, about when you face who, really. And I think that will come into it. I think they'll definitely top the group, even though there's some tough teams in there. USA have great players. Wales have great players. Iran, I think, are a bit of an unknown element, which makes them probably more dangerous as well when you take that into account. But that's the first game, so that'll get out of the way. I've got them down as quarterfinals. I think they'll get to the quarterfinals, and then from there it depends who they get. If they get a team that are better than them, like a Brazil or a France, then I think that might be it for them. But if they get a bit of luck, if the groups work out the way that they might, then they might get a more favourable draw in the quarterfinal, and then you get to the semis, and then it really takes care of itself from there.
Interesting opinion there from Jack. What about you, John Kane? How do you reckon England's going to go on in the World Cup under Southgate?
Well, I don't want to disappoint everyone here, but actually, I don't think they will progress from the group stages. And the reason being for that is because Iran are a very physical side, and I've seen them quite a few times in their qualification rounds and some of their friendlies. They're actually a very good team. The USA likewise, and I actually think Wales will top that group, believe it or not. I'm not saying this, I'm supporting England for all that, but I'm just looking at the squad that England have. And that squad is literally not good enough. It's full of right backs, not a lot of central defenders. The holding midfielders, literally one is gone, is going to cause problems for the whole team. And even like up front, we got probably great options, but it's the back that really worries me a lot. And I honestly believe that teams like USA, Iran, and Wales are going to expose that defense very, very easily. These defenders that we got at the moment, with all due respect to Harry Maguire and John Stones, John Stones hardly get any games at the moment, but Harry Maguire has been absolutely abysmal playing for club. And likewise it's going to be for country in the big stage for the World Cup. I think Gareth Southgate, I agree with Martin. I haven't got confidence in the guy at all, and I was hoping that with the rumours going on that he'd been replaced by Thomas Tuchel and get probably different set of players that would give England the best chance, because the whole tournament, you look at so many countries around, like teams like Spain, etc., and even France, they're not at their best, and it would have been England's best chance to get the World Cup or be the best top European team in the World Cup. But honestly, I can't see at the moment with the squad that we got and definitely with the manager that England have at the moment.
Yes, an interesting prediction there from John Kin, to say the least, for England in the World Cup. So we'll move on and discuss about Wales this time, and we'll go to you first on this one, John. You alluded to Wales in your England one, thinking that you said they'll top the group, and how far do you reckon Wales will get in the group then, my friend?
I think, obviously, like I said, I think they will top the group, but I don't think they will go further in the quarterfinals. They will go through the last 16, and again, based on what the draw they will get. But I think they'll be coming with confidence. But again, the Welsh squad is not haven't got so much depth in that squad. Yes, they've got 23 players, but the main players, we're talking about 8, 9 maximum, who are actually really, really world class players. But so I don't, because of that, I can't see them going further than the quarterfinals.
Interesting prediction there for Wales. Martin, what about you for Wales and Rob Page? And is potentially could be Gareth Bale's last big European tournament on the world stage as well. Where do you see Wales and Rob Page's side doing in the tournament?
I think in the group stage, it's a little bit of a toss up for me between Wales and the USA. One of those teams likely to progress at the other's expense, with England topping the group. Wales, they do have that team spirit that can carry them through games that they maybe don't have the on paper the talent that you would need to win those games, but they sometimes can find a way. They're a bit of a unpredictable team, Wales, and I can see them progressing from the group, even though the United States team is probably stronger on paper. So I think perhaps first knockout round for Wales, and I don't think that would be a bad run in the World Cup for them, given the quality of the team.
Interesting prediction there from Martin regarding Wales. Very knowledgeable from Martin as well, and also from John earlier on as well. Also, let's see what Jack has got to say about Wales and see whether I think he's very knowledgeable as well. Jack, what do you think for Wales and Rob Page in the World Cup?
I think Wales will go out in the group stage. I think the USA have a stronger team. If the USA live up to the players that they've got, I think they will finish second in that group alongside England, Wales. But then I think the three of them, it is going to be a bit of a dogfight for that second spot. I think Wales will feel like that they're up for it. I think they'll, as they talk about the passion that they've got, and they've progressed in the previous 2 Euros as well, so you can't really take that away from them. I think Iran will feel like they've got a point to prove and try and get that second place spot. So the three of them, I think, will think that it is right up for it. And if you think England as well, if England have any slip ups there, I think the full group is an open group. I think though, in terms of squad quality, I would say it would be USA to finish second ahead of Wales, and I would have Wales then to finish third behind in front of Iran.
An interesting choice there from Jack as well. So we'll look at some of the who you think could be dark horses, some nations who will not get normally get overlooked in the normal media, and then see what you think could be potential dark horses in the World Cup. Martin, who have you put down in your dark horses range for the World Cup, my friend?
I think Poland have an outside chance at this tournament. You've got the quality there of Robert Lewandowski, of course, probably the best striker in world football over the last few years. But there's a surprising amount of quality throughout the squad. I'm not sure if people appreciate the quality in the Poland's squad. Wojciech Szczęsny, Obviously, a very experienced goalkeeper. First choice for Juventus. Matty Cash, regular Premier League player. Piotr Zielinski, obviously playing very, very well at Napoli in Italy at the moment. So, there's this selection of players there that all have a lot of quality, and I think that could see Poland progress, especially when you take into account they've got this mix of experience and some of these younger players that have got a bit of energy as well. So, it's a squad with a lot of guile and a surprising amount of quality. So, Poland, for me, have a good chance of doing well in the tournament.
Yes, and Jack, for you, would you agree with Poland there, or have you got some other nations who you would have as your dark horses?
I don't know if you would define them as dark horses, but I think, and I have been having a good feeling about Belgium in this tournament. I think they're kind of going through the same situation that Croatia was in 4 years ago, where a lot of the bright talents of the past 10 years are now coming into that point where it might be the final World Cup. And I think same with Croatia in 2018, you might see a situation where they really want to try and push to get as far as they can up to the final. You look at the quality they've got. They've obviously got Kevin De Bruyne in the midfield, along with Yuri Tielemans, who's coming into form for Leicester. And then up front as well, you've still got Romelu Lukaku, who's the consistent goal scorer for the national team. Eden Hazard, most likely, his final World Cup. I think defensively they're weaker, and I think that's where that they will get let down, is in the defence side, especially when they come up against the stronger teams. But when you look at how long the odds are as well to actually win the World Cup, and then you look at the fact that they're second ranked in the world, I do feel like they are the main dark horse of this World Cup coming up.
Yes, thank you there, Jack Essen. Let's see what John Kane has got as his dark horses for the competition. John, what about you, my friend?
I actually think Serbia is my dark horses. You look at the results they had over the last couple of years, and you look at the way they've been playing football and the players that they have. People seem to forget they've got Filip Kostic, they've got Vlahovic. I know he's not having a great season so far, but he's fantastic on the international front. Mitrovic, Tasic, Matip. They've got brilliant players, and the results speak for themselves as well. You look at the results over the last few seasons, last couple of years. Like I said, it's been absolutely really good. They're beating teams like Sweden, Norway, Slovenia, and it's definitely for me the dark horses. And I think that the only problem, I think what Jack said about Belgium being where Croatia are, I think for me, I mirror it, and I'll say Serbia is exactly where Croatia were 4 years ago.
Yes, very interesting. Different opinions there for the dark horses for the competition. Now let's see everyone has got for their top four and which orders. So we'll start off in fourth place, and we'll go and ask first of all, Jack Essen, who have you got in fourth for your World Cup?
I'm going to put it in line and say I think Belgium will finish fourth. I think they'll get to semi-finals. Third place, I think, will be. I've not looked at exactly how the groups work, so I'm not sure if this would work out. But Argentina, I think they'll push for it, but I don't think they've got the quality to get over the line. I think second place will be France, and I think first place and the winners will be Brazil.
Thank you very much there, Jack Essen. Martin, who have you? What's your top four then, my friend? Starting in fourth place.
So I think Poland will surprise everyone and get to that latter stage, and they'll come fourth place in the end. It's very optimistic given Poland's past tournament record, but they do have the quality to achieve in this tournament. The Netherlands are my choice for third. I think they've got a pretty decent group that they should get out of quite comfortably, and I think they can really challenge the bigger teams in the tournament. And obviously, Louis van Gaal, immensely experienced international manager, been very successful with them in the past. So they've got a lot going for them, Netherlands, in this tournament. And as with Jack, actually, I do have a Brazil-France final. So I think both of those teams are the two best teams in the world at the moment. France, immense quality in that team. The current World Cup champions, and Brazil, again, immense quality in that team. I mean, look, some of the players that they didn't take, the likes of Roberto Firmino, can't even get into this Brazil side for the World Cup. So that tells you a lot about the quality and depth that they have. They are prone to the odd collapse, are Brazil. But yes, I think Poland and Netherlands third and fourth, with Brazil and France the World Cup final.
And who would you say would come out on top in the final for you, Martin?
It's really a toss-up, isn't it? I think, just to go different to Jack, Brazil have more vulnerabilities than France, and France would be able to take advantage of Brazil and hit a few goals past them as well. I think it would be a high-scoring final if it went ahead, something like 5-2 to France.
Interesting one there. And John Kenny, for your predictions, fourth to first, who have you got, my friend?
Yeah, likewise, like Martin and Jack, the dark horses do finish fourth, in my opinion. That is Serbia. I think they'll have a fantastic World Cup. Third, I agreed, Argentina. Argentina have a brilliant squad, brilliant players, but I don't think they're going to make it again to win it. It's going to be a bit disappointing for Messi as well. Obviously, he's trying his best to win the only competition that he hasn't won in his career. But I don't think this year is going to be his year either. For the final, I actually think Brazil-Holland are going to be in the final. Brazil have been absolutely brilliant. And likewise with Holland, you watch the way Holland, they're really creeping up and having these good results, and no one's taking much notice of them. And like Martha said, Louis van Gaal is actually a really, really good manager, and he's actually getting them playing football again, because they've gone through a stage of literally sort of forgot what football's all about under Frank de Boer. And Louis van Gaal came in and he brought all the right players in there. But I think at the end of the day, Brazil's going to win the World Cup.
Yes, and just one final one, which I'm going to ask each and every single one of you now. The Golden Boot winner for you, John, who do you reckon for the Golden Boot, and how many goals, my friend?
I think it's going to be a Brazilian, and I'm not being biased, unlike regardless what anyone else is going to say. But I actually think you look at the record and the goals it's been coming from. It's actually been coming from Richarlison. So I'm going to go with Richarlison with 6 goals.
Martin, your Golden Boot winner, please, my friend, and how many goals do you reckon they're going to score?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? But I'm going to back Robert Lewandowski because he is such a clinical goal scorer. Though his record with Poland is a bit patchy at times, but Poland not always the strongest team in his time with them. And I'm going to say 7 goals at this World Cup for Robert Lewandowski.
And Jack, who are you going for your Golden Boot winner, and how many goals, my friend?
I'm going to go Kylian Mbappe. I think he's probably, beside Haaland, currently one of the best youngest talents, one of the best strikers on the planet at the moment. He showed in the last World Cup exactly what he can do, and he was a lot younger back then. I think he's better now than what he was back then. I look at their group as well. They play, no disrespect to them, Australia and Tunisia. If he's firing on form, then I think he's getting a couple of goals in both of those games. I've got him to finish World Cup top goal scorer, and I think he's going to finish on 8 goals.
Thank you very much there to John, to Martin, and to Jack for their contribution to the World Cup preview show. We'll be back.
You are listening to the World Cup preview on the commentary hub.
Now you've heard from everybody else with their predictions. Now it's time for me to give my predictions for the World Cup. So for me, for England, I think England will get out of the group. I think they'll be the group winners. I think a lot of people have been talking about some of the squad selection for England and some of the selections I don't agree with, which I said when I first saw the squad get announced for the World Cup way back when it was the first announced for the World Cup. And for me, there's just a few players which have got the squad for the World Cup. And for me, I wouldn't have some of the players which have been called up in the England squad by Gareth Southgate, likes of Harry Maguire. Probably won't even have Calvin Phillips, and because he's been injured most of the season. And a few of the players haven't been performing at the same level as they have done for in recent years for England and for the club sides as well. I'd probably take Alan Wilson over Ivan Toney, and that's not because of the issues hanging over Ivan Toney right now. I just think Alan Wilson is that next level striker. I'm delighted James Maddison has gone. He deserves to be there after his brilliant performances for Leicester. I was surprised he was overlooked for the Nations League early this year in the June, July sort of time. Whereas now he's proven that over a long period. Southgate will still have his favourites, as some people will say, likes of Harry Maguire still going every single week, single tournament England plays or in semi England squad. John Stones has done well for England, but for me, I don't think he's at a level of consistency that England may need. I can see why Eric Dyer has been chosen as one of the defenders because of his he can play in that back three and he's got leadership qualities in that in the back three. You can see that when he plays for Tottenham, in my opinion. Some may disagree with that. Let me know if you do. But for me, for England, good squad overall. Just two or three I probably wouldn't have picked. Probably wouldn't have picked Luke Shaw either because he's not been playing much regular first team football. Then again, when you look at the left back spot, he's the only viable option that we've got out there at the minute because of injuries to Ben Chilwell and other potential left backs that we could call upon. So I can understand why Southgate has chosen Luke Shaw to play that role. Because you won't rather have Trent Alexander-Arnold a right back when he's been out of form for Liverpool and put Trent at left back. Yes, I know Trent's done well there, but you really have that one that there for England because Trippier, for me, deserves to start on that right hand side. I think England will go out to the group. I think they'll go out to the group winners. And I think they'll go quite far in the competition. I'm going to say I think England will get to the final in the World Cup. Do I think he's coming home? You'll have to wait till towards the end of this program, well, this part of the program, to find out if I think England will win the World Cup. But for me, England will get to the final under Gareth Southgate for me, with the talent of players that we've got, like Grealish, Sterling, Kane, Mount, Foden, James Maddison as well. Those young players will help us get there. And the Rice and Phillips factor, since Phillips is going, will work and will help England defensively, in my opinion. They work together and work quite well. I probably would have Madison with them in the midfield three starting for me. And then I probably have Foden, Sterling, with Kane up front, and maybe Grealish coming off of the bench to impact games. Same with Jude Bellingham and probably Gallagher for me. As for Wales, on the other hand, under Rob Page, got to agree with what one of my previous guests said. Chris, you've got to put back of the work that Gary Speed did for Wales. William Job and Ryan Giggs came in, continued to do similar sort of things. Giggs then left due to issues behind the scenes. And then Rob Page has come in. Not really much managerial experience, Rob Page, to be quite honest with you. But he did well. And he's done really, really well to help Wales qualify for the first World Cup since 1958. I think it was the last time Wales qualified for a World Cup. And I think, for me, Wales will get out of the group with England in second. I think they'll just beat USA to that second spot. I think Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey will help him just over the line, along with Kiefer Moore as well, that physical presence that he brings to the Welsh team, as you see that he does week in, week out for Bournemouth in the Premier League as well. I think Wales will get out to the group stage, but I think they'll follow the round of 16 hurdle. I think that's where Wales's run will come to an end. But I think Wales fans, whatever happens this tournament, their fans, the players, the management will be very proud of the achievements that they get, considering it's the first World Cup since 1958. My dark horses for the competition, I think there's could be a couple of dark horses. One which you may not think are dark horses. Some may say they are dark horses, but for me, I think Belgium. I don't think Belgium will go as far as the final. I think they'll get into the semi-finals and then go into the third place playoff. I think Belgium will have a good run. I think they'll get out of the group quite comfortably for me in their group. But I think Belgium have got a good chance of going quite far in the competition. And another dark horse for me is South Korea. I think when you look at someone like South Korea and some of the players they've got, like Son and some others, they know how to play against some of these defences on the world stage because we come up against them in their leagues. Son, especially coming up against some of the players in the leagues, probably none of the Qatari players, but some of the other nation players who may come up against some of them when playing for their club side. Son, particularly against some of the defenders, big by the likes of England, Wales, USA, Mexico, Poland, Argentina, in some occasions as well. I think South Korea will have a could be one of my I think South Korea will have a really good run in this competition for me. So they're my two dark horses for the World Cup. For me now for the Golden Boot for the World Cup. And when I look at this, I look at the previous ones where they've got the one person who's really got double figures in one World Cup was a Frenchman back in 1958. And I was with 13. I can't remember the name of the Frenchman now. If you listen to the earlier part of the podcast, some of the other podcasts members and the previous show members mentioned his name. I can't remember it right now. Miroslav Klose of Germany, over a number of World Cups, leading goals overall, leading goal scorer with 16 goals in the World Cup. But 13 is probably around in a single World Cup players seem to score around there or thereabouts. For me, I'm going to pick Kylian Mbappe or probably go for Harry Kane to be the Golden Boot winner. And I'll probably say around about 7 goals for Harry Kane for the World Cup in the World Cup. And I think he'll probably get probably 3, maybe 4 of those in the opening game against Iran on Monday. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Now it's come to the part of the preview where on the previous show where you want to know my predictions for the World Cup, my top 4. In fourth, and just missing out of a third place team and missing out on a place in the final, I'm going to put Spain in that bracket. I think they'll lose out in the semi-finals, but then I think they'll lose out in the third place playoff as well. I think, yes, Spain have got a good squad, but I think a lot of their players will have a lot of egos. Have got a lot of egos in them, and I don't think their squad is good enough, in my opinion, to finish anywhere higher than fourth. So I'm going to put Spain in fourth. And my third place team is going to be the other losing semi-finalist, and I'm going to put Belgium in third. I think Belgium have got some good players in the squad, but I think they can just beat Spain in a one-off game. You see now they've done in recent years when they've played in one-off games against certain countries and they've just shown that extra quality. And I think Spain struggle when they've come up against teams that's got that extra bit of quality about them. So for me, I think Belgium will come third. Now it's time for me to come to a final and for the final. And my final 2, and I'm going to go with my second one first. And I think it's going to be another heartbreak for Gareth Southgate and England. I think they'll just miss out in the final again, like they did in Euro 2020. Yes, England will have another good run and get to the final, in my opinion, but I think that's where it'll end for England and Gareth Southgate. I think they won't win the World Cup. I think a lot of people may think they can do because of the way Gareth Southgate has trained the team and helped the team and with the way the team play to manage the heat. But lot of England players do not do very well in the heat for me. But I think they'll get to the final, but then just follow the final hurdle and come second in my prediction. Now that leaves me to say who I think is going to win the World Cup, and there's going to be a lot of players who are probably appearing at this World Cup in the final time in their career. Gareth Bale for Wales, probably Cristiano Ronaldo for Portugal, maybe Kylian Mbappe, maybe potentially for France, or maybe even Karim Benzema potentially. And another one who probably is probably his final World Cup, Lionel Messi. And I think Lionel Messi will get that silverware and go out on an eye, beating England in the final. I think it'll be a very tight final, and one goal will separate them. And I just think Argentina will win the final and become world champions this winter. So that's my predictions for the final. Let me know what you think to the predictions. And we're back to round off the preview show very, very soon.
You are listening to the World Cup preview on the Commentary Hub.
Big thank you to all our contributors to the preview show. Hopefully you enjoy our coverage this winter. Join us tomorrow for the opening match as Qatar take on Ecuador in FIFA World Cup 2022.
Thanks for listening to the World Cup preview on the Commentary Hub. Enjoy our coverage of the World Cup this winter.